The view from my studio is so inspiring as I look at all the textures and muted tones that are now being covered up by the snow. It's sort of a metaphor for the layers that I use. So veiling in white is definitely something I'm going to do today. And I hope you watch the video to the end. This is the first of many.
If you didn't see last week's, I was using fall finds of plants from my garden, gone to seed, pods, grasses, flowers, perennials, and I have a few of them here of the ones that I really like the marks. So that's what I said we were going to do. I'm going to make some marks. I'm going to just start playing with some muted tones, some of the marks, and these are the stencils that I think resonate, and they are sort of the essence of water, trees, and I've also I'm planning to use the ghost print and the actual collage paper from the tree stencil on my 8x10 jelly plate printer. And I've selected just a few, possibly some scraps here. This is a Payne's Gray mixed with Mars Black, and it is on parchment paper. I might use a piece of that. And there's some writing elements that I'm going to go further. Stay tuned. Another piece. And some other than black. I'm going to start introducing some more color, but right for now, I just want to use muted tones. These are the old book pages. See, these can, if you don't have ledger or whatever, these book pages can look really interesting with paint on them, marks, just a tone, so a subtle tone, and that's why I'm using them. So I'm just going to pick right now what really resonates. This is really bright, but that's okay because I'm going to be veiling. If you saw the introduction, it's snowing right now. It's very beautiful. And as a metaphor, snow covers up what's, been for the next season, and it veils. So I'm going to use the white in that same sense. So if it shows, starting with some bright highlights would be good. Some transparent shapes. I don't know if those shapes go with it. And that's what we're going to use. So I'm just going to put these extra ones aside. And welcome to my channel if you're here for the first time. And I call it Beyond Mixed Media, Intuitive Art Journeys. And this is what I'm doing. I'm now following some natural elements, and this is what spoke to me today. So this is my intention. And so stay tuned with the layering process, the intuitive layering process. And if I get stuck, I'm going to use my art prompts, which you can get as well. You just sign up for my email list, you get the art prompts, and also the self-reflection guide, which after I do this page, I will show you at the end. So stay tuned and let's get started.
And so I'm gathering my tools here, and these, along with the thin brush, are my favorite. Now, the grass, I think it's very water repellent, as I've noticed and observed grass sort of moving in the wind, in the rain at some point before. So it didn't pick up the paint that well, but it left a very fine line, and I'm using some ink here. But I plan Not that I'm planning, but I intend to use it at the end. So my intention for this page today is to just explore and play. And I've been trying hard not to think of any outcomes, though with the selection of my materials, you can see that I do have, it's the essence of a place or maybe a season. I'm not sure where this is going, but I also grabbed my art prompts, which I said earlier you can also get. And I loved how this little plant made very, they're like in a spiral in a way. They're very organic. And that is, let's see, that's waterproof ink left from last week. And I'm starting a new routine with my art practice where I am having my station, which I should show you at some point, set up and ready to go, cleaned up, even with, I want to use this color palette. I really love it. And I'm loving, with the ink, I find it's more sensitive or something. And when you're using plant material as your tool, it can go thick, very thin. And so that was the prompt, circles. So this is in my repertoire now, just automatically, intuitively, large, small, and I did not speed this section of the video up because it's very important to slow down. In the background, I have some quiet, calming piano music playing, which I found really went well with the, if you saw at the beginning, the beautiful, peaceful scene of the quiet snow falling. So I just love it. So I'm learning to do things that I love, that I can keep showing up for. And that's going to be part, I'm adding that into my practice. And my, I might as well mention, mentor artist for these things that I've been learning lately is Nicholas Wilton. I've been listening to so many of his current podcasts. They are amazing. And they're also videos. But while I'm driving to school, to my elementary school where I am still a full-time teacher, this is what I'm doing. So 2 brush strokes. Well, I wanted to make 2 different directions. And of course, this is the Payne's Gray. In this video, I'll probably have to stop it a lot and then rejoin my narration as this relentless cough just keeps going on. And I love that pod that I used. I never ended up using it on this page, but that's okay. There's a little hook at the end of it, which with the ink made such fine, but really, you could see them, very visible lines. So I want to use that somehow. I just don't know yet. So I'm going to leave everything nice and cleaned up, leaving my natural materials, other art tools, the paint palette, everything right there ready to go so that when I come back, I can work for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and this video, after editing, came down to 38, but it was about an hour and 10 minutes. So I want to keep on going and filling up this journal with this type. So I noticed it was out of square, so I just made an adjustment there. This is yellow oxide. I was going to use the Indian yellow hue, but right now I'm not used to that color. So there I am. I'm reluctant to start. So I think next week I'll just start anyway. So if you are new here, welcome. Sorry to start this 10 minutes into the video, but this is going to be, I'm just going to take a very needed break from my weekly videos until after Christmas. So right in the new year, I will be back. So that's just a couple of weeks or so. And I'm going to continue with this particular, these elements, see where they go, explore different color palettes, and of course do more veiling with other colors, not just white, and just really start to expand my repertoire. So I'm using the transparent white here from Liquitex, and just the white is nice, but I'm sure there's so much more. And as I'm sort of sitting here with the video going on, narrating, I'm really loving the selection of stencils that I chose. There's a water stencil, of course, the tree stencil, and 2 water stencils with the rippled effect, not rippled effect, the wave effect. So they're sort of like S lines. And I just love that representation, or the essence, or the lines, or the abstract element of a place. And right now, that's where I'm going. And we'll see what happens. So I hope you are having a wonderful time with the upcoming Christmas season, and still create. I'm going to try and create more without recording, but I will take little short snippets and put those up if I am inclined to, and we'll do a few short videos until I get back into the Sunday routine. So 2025 is the year for action. I like to choose a year for each beginning of the year. Last year it was clarity. This year is action, because I think I know what my art wants to feel like. These things might change, but just wonderful. I am very grateful. And I'm also very grateful, subscribers, that I have finally reached 10,000 subscribers. So thank you so much. And so glad you are here. Please keep the likes and the shares and the subscribing coming. Notice I used a piece of old text. Also previously, I think with a roller, color shaper, with the same yellow oxide. And I like to use repetition and echo things. I think I'm going to work on that, but I'm not going to pre-think anything. This page was totally the outcome. I did not know where it was going. All I knew is I wanted warm colors from the fall, the inspiration from the snow falling outside of the white and veiling and covering, and that's it. So it's amazing when you can just select, give yourself a quiet moment, and then start. And I loved last week's exploration of the mark making. I didn't get too much done past that, and I even used a page from last week, one of the favorite pages. So here I'm using that tree stencil after veiling and adding a bunch of layers first. You want to make sure, if you're going for this effect, this feel, you need a lot of layers building up. And then the earlier ones are just putting it down. Maybe it is a color you love. Maybe it's line. Maybe it's a stencil. Maybe it's all 3. So you just never know where it will lead, where your intuition and your building of knowledge will take you. So I switched to a makeup sponge here because the paint was nice and dry, so I knew the stencil would turn out reasonably well. Actually, I do like it because it's more to the right. It's following that line up. Very interesting. And here's that water stencil that I was trying to explain. Now you could start with dark, end up with white on black. And I decided to stay inside that shape, that negative space. I just had an inkling to do that. So now it's sort of all over, and I'm really liking that. So the elements, are they relating? Well, somewhat they are. So I just keep on going. If something needs covering up or needs to be sacrificed in a way because something else is going to, you just keep on going because you can put that in again. Just use repetition. And it is those beautiful circles underneath that are staying right in the middle. But I realize that, but I'm not worried about it at this point. So each time you see the dryer, I edit those out. And I like to dry my layers before I then create another one. So here I am looking for that piece of, there it is. It was one of the very first ones. And I really like the ripping sound, so I really missed the live narration. I just thought I'd better do it this way or I would be coughing through the whole video. And what I loved is the repetition of those circles to the side, but it's still too large, and I love a torn edge. And notice I just leave the straight edge there. There we go. That's so interesting. It just was overlapping and it just took the eye out of that center. That's as far as I go with thinking about composition. If something's bugging me, then I just cover it up, lead the eye out of it. Now I'm spraying it because this is drawing paper, and I love how it's that lovely off-white. So I'm going to use a lot more of that. So I have to be careful. I don't know, some inks run when you try to put a medium over them that's of course water, but that was okay because I was covering it up anyway. So now we have lots of elements. We have the water above, tree to the side, these abstract lines, watery element below, but in a different form. So now I'm thinking, okay, what will we do next? How can we pull those together somehow? Definitely didn't need any more line, so I decided to quiet things down, go the other way. Yes, and I started using white, and then I decided to, okay, let's add some of the natural to the mix. And I really like that better. The horizontal water stencil is really cool. So I'm going to explore using all three of these. I just purchased from Amazon, and I don't have an affiliate thingamajig yet, but I've got to work on that. So these are these few things that I'm in the new year that are going to change with my action word. Anyway, a 5x7 jelly plate just to work with smaller pieces like the pages and etc. And of course you want to use your hand. You want to do all sorts of interesting things and multi-layer your collage papers. And you see how that's very close to the paper color? And I'm noticing when I go thick and thin, it's really cool. So just a little bit of that stencil remains, not a lot, and that's okay. But it influences the type of scoring lines which are still horizontal that I want to add just to break up that shape and show some of the layers below. And when you want to go thinner, you can use a spray bottle. I use a very fine spray bottle for this. And let's see if I decide to do that. Notice it's very bright at the bottom, so it also needs a little bit just to bring everything together. Just my instinct said. So what I'm doing is I'm lessening the contrast here, but still keeping some, just not as much, and quieting it down. It was too busy. So you could, yeah, there's the spray bottle. It's an eye cleaner spray bottle, so it's super fine, and now that's better. I didn't want blobs, I just wanted just a little bit. There. And the color shapers are great for this. So my pencil, definitely going to add some. I love the brayer for lifting. Paint away. And also it removes paintbrush strokes if you want to, and when you use the brayer you just never know what it's gonna, it alters the shapes in a surprising way. So it's pretty cool. I let the sound on here. I might edit it out, I'm not sure. So this is some more Payne's Gray. Now I decided it's too much off-white or beige, and I love the multiple layers there. So now there's a texture that's happening. Now this isn't a golden brand of Payne's Gray. I noticed it wasn't as, I don't know, it was, I forget, I think it was Liquitex. But it's not, there's not as much blue in it or something. So I went to add a little bit more blue. Was going to use the cerulean, but decided to go with light blue. There it is there on my palette. It's very opaque. And then I said, well, why don't I start mixing these colors, because there's, before it started really snowing, there was such beautiful mixture of greens, ochres, and now adding a few more colors is feeling better. So my whole way of painting is feeling. It's the essence. So I lifted there. I lifted a little too much off, but you can just go back in. And I'm liking that second mix, it's a little stronger in hue, which if you do end up covering it up, it'll show up still. And I'm just sort of playing around, putting a little here, a little there. Yes, it needed that warmth. I'll leave the paint colors in the description of the video below. So that color mixed with, took away the bright yellowness, and I really love that. That was the feeling. So the color palette is pretty cool. Such natural colors, but using abstraction. So I noticed that little collage piece, which is thicker, was starting to lift, so I just put it back down. Love my small brayer. And now I wanted some no control. And that blue just really added. I never intended to use blue at the beginning. Mixing it with a little Payne's gray, knowing that those blobby organic shapes would be created by the brayer. So I love that lack of control. And really could have went a lot whiter with the blue as well. So these are the things that I'll remember and write down on that page. Even though if you stay to the end, I do use some self-reflection and want to keep those notes. And this is the feeling. This is definitely the feeling of that first, the snow mixed with all and covering up all those beautiful natural elements. So having some white in there, I think really added to the feeling. So as you can see, there's a stencil of the same, there's a transparent collage paper of the same tree stencil there. So I'm gonna throw, I don't know if I use it. So making sure those layers are dry. And then I went hunting for a little piece of this. This is my, this is from the course. One of the papers, one of the many papers that I made. And it's using dabbing and just multi-layering your collages, and you get your collage papers and you can really explore that way. And then have a whole bunch of paper in the same, whatever color you want to use. So I just sped this little part up. It just seemed to fit right there. I didn't want to cover up those beautiful colors. So since I covered up those lines, I thought, well, why don't I bring them back? So I tried it in a blue, but it didn't show up. So I went back in with black for some more contrast that I veiled, and now you bring it back in. You can go back and forth and back and forth. It's amazing. Oh, so nice. Oh yeah. So you see, that's the 5x7 jelly plate, and it's such a nice size for art journaling pages. This is an 8x10 page, but it's a 9x12 Canson 140-pound watercolor pad. So as you can see, I said, no, I don't need any more of that. I want the finer ones, and I'm not going to put them there where it is. It's like, okay, what's the point of that? So they need to go diagonally across. And now it splits it, it fragments it, so it changes it. And of course, I love my torn edge. And it's so transparent, so you will see some of that texture underneath. So if you're interested in this kind of work, it'd be a good idea if you get on my mailing list, because in this next early 2025, I am going to have my new course out and several more after that. And it's somewhat like this, but definitely that's where I'm headed. And intuitive art journaling practice is key to this. So if you haven't already, I do have a 5-day free course that you can sign up for, enjoy, and join the Facebook group that supports it at the end. And the link is in the YouTube the YouTube channel description, and under links, and under this video. So I'm loving those lines. And then I decided to put some more contrast as I, started with it, veiled it, and now we're adding it in different ways. So I'm loving that little element. So it echoes the dots that are different, and it's diagonally across below the black and white, so the eye brings the eye down, and I'm loving those lines. Look like plants in there, but I don't want anything to be realistic. I want the feeling. Of course, the branches and the trees, those are realistic, but I want to use them in an abstract way. I'm trying to capture the essence of, like I said, either the season or place. I think this is more place. Loving abstract. It is so amazing. It's from the inside out. You just take everything, process it, and your own true art. Oh, and again, my 5-day course helps you find your true art, and it's all about an intuitive art practice to get you going in this direction with introspection, mark making, all sorts of wonderful things, collage paper, simple color palettes so you don't get overwhelmed with color. So many things. So loving how this turned out for my very first one. I thought, oh, I must use my gold, which seems to be, since the lid there is cracked and I've taped it up, it's drying up, so I'll have to get a new one at some point. Then I thought, okay, let's use some other ink. This was very fall, but a very warm red, and I put it where it would be closest to its hue, so it wouldn't change much. And then echoing those curvy lines with the white ink. And this is the first page that I decided not to add a spatter to. So, lots of tape. I think I need a hotter hair dryer. And then I forgot to slice that. No big deal. This is just an exploration journal. I got the knife out, but I forgot to use it. And I know, subscribers, you'll have lots to say about this. Everyone has their little tricks for the tape removal. Okay, so I'm giving up on that one. That's good enough. So then that tore everything. It's like, man, that's okay. So I did this one right. I realized, like, wow, I did come way over. I wasn't really paying attention to where my tape was, but it mostly worked. A little bit of a tear there. I'm really loving the yellow, the blue, the red, just that little touch. So, just trying to write down just natural marks, influence from nature, and then I'm going to flip to the other side to write down a few pointers so I do not forget them. And so I'm writing natural elements, marks, muted tones, so I remember my color palette. And I'm loving the color palette, especially the light blue, which was surprising. And I would love to veil more layers and add even more organic elements. And I'll just read ahead, even though visually you see that I'm not there yet with the writing. And then I love these 3 stencils and how they relate. And I want to do more of the same. And it also feels closer to my true art. So that's the whole point. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try my 5-day free course. That does set you on a path to find your true art. And I will see you in the next video.